Hello, today we are going to be talking about football in the UK. So, the evolution of football in the UK started in Great Britain. Between the 8th to the 19th centuries, many sports developed, including football. At this time, football was more disorganized, violent, and spontaneous. There was not a certain amount of players, but instead villages versed each other. In 1863, the first set of rules developed for the game of football. Before these sets of rules, football was very violent. This included carrying the ball, kicking opponents, and not having the same size and weight of the ball. Many people started to speak out against these rough customs. Great Britain had to think of new ways to develop rules that everyone can enjoy. The growth of football really rose in the beginning of the 19th century. Public schools started to introduce the game of football. As well as clubs started to begin, many children found their new hobbies on Sundays. There was no standard form of this game at this time, but having children showed new ways of loyalty, selflessness, and cooperation. Since children started to play, they permitted any time of rough play. Great Britain started to influence other countries, which soon spreaded rapidly. So why is football so popular in England? Football is said to have originated in England with written evidence of gameplay dating back to the year 1170. In 1857, England became the home of the first football club. In 1863, the Football Association was set up in England. In 1871, the first national competition for football, the FA Cup, began in England. In 1872, England and Scotland played each other in the first international football match. In 1888, the first National Football League began in England. The popularity of football in the UK is very apparent in the amount of clubs in England alone. England has the most football clubs out of every other country, leading with 40,000 clubs. The closest country to that number is Brazil, which only has about 29,000 football clubs. Not only does the history of football and the current statistics make it an English favorite, but so does accessibility of the sport. It is easy to set up and play. You only need a ball, 2 markings of a goal, and some friends to play with. But the rules are so easy to follow, making it a sport can be enjoyed by all ages. The difference between American soccer and European football. With the rules of football, they're the same to American soccer. Culturally, however, there are a few differences between the two. In America, professional soccer is played between the early summer to mid-fall, whereas in the UK and the rest of Europe, it is played late summer to late spring. So as you can see, Europeans have a long span of time they play in because it also is an indoor sport as well as outdoor. Recruitment for the professional leagues in the USA rely mostly on college teams to produce players, and Europeans scout starting as young as 10 years old to start recruiting, training, and allowing them to use team faculties and resources. In addition to that, a popular option is to loan players to other teams internationally in exchange for money and other players. Playing style between the US and Europe is also different. Europeans tend to play fast, aggressive, and their style is more long ball and flanking type, which is focusing on booting it far with players only making quick touches. However, the US plays towards more conditioning and focusing on possessing the ball. Lastly, the viewing popularity is largely different between the two, with soccer being so overshadowed by basketball, baseball, and American football, but in Europe, football is by far the number one sport in the country. Women's football. At the end of the 19th century, women's football developed. Many who played football most likely lived in Scotland, and some lived in England. In 1984, the first ladies football team was formed and started to play teams across the country. Soon after, the reputation of women's football became successful. After the First World War in 1921, the Football Association banned all women's teams because of injuries. It took years for women's football to be introduced again. In 1969, the Women's Football Association was founded, and women today are still taking steps in order to be in global competitions. Popular international players. Since football is well known around the world, many players get to perform internationally. You can base all of these players on their goals and the amount of wins, but with being a good team member, it also plays a part to become an international team member to play. On the left side, as you can see, this shows the 5 main Europeans that play in America. They're very well known for playing. And then on the right side, these are Americans that play in Europe, and they are very well known in those countries that they play in. So the top 5 greatest United Kingdom football players are number 5, Sir Stanley Matthews. He had a FA Cup named after him, and he is also known as the Wizard of the Dribble. Number 4, John Charles. He won 5 league titles in 5 seasons, and he scored 93 goals in 155 minutes. Number 3, Bobby Moore. He led England to the World Cup glory in 1966, and before that he was captain of his own country at 22. Number 2, Sir Bobby. He had 49 goals for England and 249 for Manchester United. He was a World Cup winner and a European Cup winner as well. And then number 1, George Best. He is known as the Showman. He was a modern-day football player and became part of the popular culture of the United Kingdom football. The Premier League. The Premier League is a professional league for all men's football clubs. It has about 20 members clubs that act as shareholders. Most games are held on the weekends so family members can attend and enjoy. This formed in 1992, celebrating its 25th year, and there has been many sponsorships that changed its name several times, and today it is known as the Premier League. And there are currently 47 clubs have developed in the past 25 years, which is amazing. And then the clubs are rotated out at each season, so you're always going to have something new to look forward to. So this concludes our PowerPoint, and here are the sources that we use throughout our presentation. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.